This is Chet Holmgren, and I'm down to dunk.
This is AJ Mitchell, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Alex Crusoe, and I'm down to dunk.
It's like baby bottle pop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is Adam Flagler, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, it's Isaiah Hartenstein, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Kason Wallace, and I'm down to dunk.
I can't spell Lucas. Hey, how do you spell Lucas? How do you spell Lucas?
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Nikola Topic, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Dylan Jones, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Isaiah Joe, and I'm down to dunk.
And there's probably like 50 to 75 Beanie Babies.
Give me like your top 3 Pokemon.
Brother, I can't even name.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
Sometimes the way his brain works is it leaves a lot to be desired.
This is Kenrich Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
Charmander.
Yeah.
Charmander. Or you're more of a Charmeleon guy.
Charmeleon.
This is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
Schlecht. You know what
Schlecht?
it means? Yeah.
That means like bad.
It means bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, it was a good interview, so it wasn't bad.
J-Dub, year 3, and I'm down to dunk for the 3rd time. Thank you.
Ooh, welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. Before I get to Michele, I need to tell you about my friends Aaron and Drew Reese at Shelter Insurance. These are guys that you can trust. Call Aaron at 405-773-5500 or call or text. If you're into texting, 405-478-7714 to call Drew today. Please give these guys a call because, listen, everybody needs insurance. And if you have a home or a car that you care even a little bit about, you need to make sure that you have the proper insurance and the people that will take care of you day in, day out, and when you need them most. Promise you, these are the guys. Give them a call today. Thank you to Aaron and Drew for supporting Down to Dunk and the Oklahoma City Thunder. With me early on a Sunday morning after we learned who is going to be the opponent in the NBA Finals. It's Michele Berra. Michele, what's up?
The mighty Indiana Pacers. I mean, it's kind of the thing that we thought it would happen after the first few games in New York, especially after the Halliburton shot that tied that game 1, which in the end, to me, decided the whole series. Because, I mean, yes, the Pacers played better, but, I mean, that game was also a game where the Knicks played well enough, and you never know. So it's credit to them. I mean, they are playing such a beautiful brand of offense. It will be a clash of 2 styles of basketball. Not necessarily 2 styles of basketball. It's just one team that predicates a lot of what they do on offense, and the other one on offense and defense. So it's, but mostly defense. So it will be incredible for me to watch how these 2 teams will decide to face each other, because it's it will be like an X and O kind of series, and also like many other things that I can't wait to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild that we're here. It's wild that we're talking about a finals preview. It feels like a little surreal.
Yeah,
this is where we're at, and it's just frankly weird that it's the Indiana Pacers. Like, let's just be honest. I mean, like I thought it would be Boston. I thought it would possibly be Cleveland as well. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Indy deserves to be here. There's no question. But whenever you think about like the quality of like the finals opponent on the other side of the East, this is not quite what I thought it would be. And I think that the Pacers have proven themselves to be a much better team than what I thought they were, even in, I mean, certainly throughout the regular season, but like it's just exciting to see. And you want to talk about like getting up and down the court. I mean, these are the number 2 and 3 teams in pace in the playoffs, you know, and so like this will be an up and down game. That's the thing about like if they did play the Knicks, the way they have to beat you is they have to grind out these games and they have to slow everything down. And I just wonder, like right off the bat, if the pace is going to favor OKC, just because when the Thunder play fast and they play with rhythm, they hardly ever lose.
Yeah. Well, they surely can play with pace, and when they do, their frantic defense, is going to be even more spot on. Because if we have him in our minds, the way in which OKC lost the few games that they lost in this playoff run, it's about, like, if you take out the game against Minnesota, which was different, not important. It's very important, and we'll talk about this later. But if you look at the one way where OKC has struggled with is one player that can really manipulate long possession and in the end find a good shot, physical, gritty kind of defense with a lot of tall timbers and stuff like that, which was like the game against Denver, but also last year against Dallas, where you basically had one center of offense and doubling and trying to remove that from the game and allowing role players to score on you. This is how OKC lost a few games that they lost this year, and also that game 3 in Minneapolis, which I think it's going to be the one where you take a lot of information, because that was the game where I think that Minnesota was playing very hard on defense, which the Pacers will do, and also spacing the hell out of OKC, which is the thing that the Pacers will absolutely do. They never ever, except for TJ McConnell, put a player that can't hit threes on the court, which is something OKC didn't face so far in the playoffs, because you had, Minnesota technically had units where there was nobody that OKC could hide on, but I think the quality of the Pacer shooter is better, except for, again, TJ McConnell, maybe Obi Toppin, and I thought maybe Bryant, but after last night, I'm not so sure that is a wise thing to do, to leave Thomas Bryant wide open in the corners. So it's a different way to play defense, because you don't have a guy that necessarily want to double. I think that you can play basically everybody straight up, but you really need to pay attention on shooters and on who you basically cheat on to allow Chet to be a little bit better in terms of positioning and rim protection and stuff like that. So it's extremely interesting to me to see how OKC will play a game against the Pacers. I'm not sure that the regular season stuff is really reliable to go back and watch. Halliburton is not playing his best basketball right now. He's on a different level in terms of genius basketball, in terms of where he's physically, which may also be, and then I'll stop this very long and pointless discussion here. He is a different level in terms of physicality, which may be also part of the reason why the Pacers struggled a bit during the regular season, because he was basically pacing himself to the end of the season, which so far has proven to be the right choice. And the Pacers won 50, so not really a bad season for them.
Yeah. The corner threes is something I always pay attention to, prior to a series, and just because it's the shot that Thunder give up a lot, and they give it up more than anybody in the league. And so as far as like in the playoffs, the Pacers they shoot 9 a game, or at least that's what they have shot, which is kind of in the middle of the pack. It's not a crazy amount. It's not, a very little amount either, but they are shooting 46.9%.
Yeah.
From the corners, which is the highest of anybody by a large margin. The Lakers are second. Actually, the Lakers and Thunder are tied for second at 40.4%. So like that is one thing that you wonder, like, where the adjustments come from and like how they decide to defend this team. That is a very interesting piece to me. It's like, how do they, because they love to pack the paint. The Pacers don't take a crazy amount of shots in the restricted area. They just played the team that takes the most shots in the restricted area in the Timberwolves and did pretty well against them. But Indy, they take 21 shots in the restricted area per game in the playoffs so far, which is about 5 less than the Timberwolves did. And so you just wonder, like, how do they shift priorities? Like, they're obviously going to like be themselves and and play to their identity. But I just worry about the corners and wonder about the corners themselves, just because it is a weak spot in like this incredible Thunder defense. It is like probably the weak spot if there is any.
Yeah, it is, and you can leave with the other team scoring a lot from the corners. It's hard though, and if you have to win like 4 times, like you did in Game 4 in Minneapolis, that is going to be hard. Because the Pacers, I think, will shoot greatly from 3-point range, because it's going to be their weapon. And I mean, sure, they can get into one game where they don't, and you better beat them when they are not shooting like crazy. The point is how OKC can really generate offense, and I think that is the part where, yes, the Pacers can be a good enough defensive team, but I mean, they will face a driver that they didn't face throughout the entire series that they played. As well, you can say, I don't know, Mitchell, but Mitchell is not the same driver as Shea. Nobody is the same driver as Shea. So it will test their defense a lot, and they will target everybody that can be targeted a lot for the entire game, because the Thunder like to pick apart opponents with a dribble drive. And again, it's going to be a lot of free throws, which is something that the Pacers allow. They are first in allowed free throw per game. So get ready for chants and analysis that will, in my opinion, we should be delighted that the fact that this is the way in which OKC is covered, because if he takes a lot of free throws, it means that OKC is probably doing fine. So it's going to be a theme of the series, because again, they allow 28 free throws per game. And if they do that against OKC, then that is going to be hard.
Per game?
Per game in the playoffs.
Oh my gosh.
This is at least what the Pacers have on the NBA.com site on opponent free throw allowed per game. It's 28.6 and 22 made. That's 22 points from the free throw line on what is like less than 15 possession. That is a lot. And again, opponents are shooting 76%, which it's not what OKC shot right there. So it's going to be even more if OKC does not turn into the Knicks yesterday at the free throw line.
Yeah. Huh. That is really interesting. I'm so curious to see how Halliburton does against this defense in the playoffs. He did not perform well against them in the regular season, but like a lot of how he gets his assists are paint touches to assists, which it's either guys cutting or it's guys, at the 3-point line. And the Thunder just don't allow easy paint touches like the Knicks do. Like the Knicks is like one screen and something opens up, and like that's just not how the Thunder work. Like they're on a string, they rotate well. That Knicks defense, like once you got your paint touch, Halliburton found somebody pretty easily, and so it's not going to be as easy for him. Once he gets there, it's hard to get there. Ask Anthony Edwards how hard it was. And then the other way that he scores a lot is just in transition. Like they use almost every possession as a transition opportunity. Yeah. Like they'll take the ball out from under the basket after a made Knicks basket and run. And they scored a ton on the Knicks that way.
Yeah.
And so I just think that the Thunder are a really good transition defense, and the Knicks were at times very bad against the Pacers. And so I wonder about that aspect too.
Yeah, you have basically 1.5 or 3/4 guys on the court that cannot play defense for real. If you're the Knicks, I mean, Towns was bad, like legit bad defensively, and they were paying him as well offensively, which is I think why they lost the series. I mean, if you have Towns and you know that he can basically be your, calling weak link, it's underestimate what is a weak link. He's a black hole defensively, especially if you put him in pick and rolls. OKC doesn't have that. If you play Chet Holmgren in pick and roll, OKC will start guarding Siakam and Miles Turner with a small guy so that they can switch pick and rolls with Haliburton. I fully expect that to be the case. And Pascal is a very, very crucial guy for them because he is a guy that likes to get deep into the paint, and you need like a Caruso-like guy to guard him. Constantly, if you want to start with a small guy or Dort, but OKC is ready to do that, and there will be lineups with absolutely no weak link where you do first pick and roll and you're at basically the same level. You're guarded by Kiss and Wallace way outside the paint. What do you do? So I'm really curious to see what kind of wrinkles Dagnall throws at the Pacers in terms of how they play transition defense. The fact that you can generate cross matchups because you basically have 3-4 guys that can guard anybody on the opponent team. That is something that the Knicks can't do. If you have Haliburton matched up with Brunson, it's your death basically. With OKC, if you have Shea instead of Dort, well, that is a pretty good defensive possession for OKC. It can be better, sure, and it probably will be. So I'm again very curious to see how Haliburton can manipulate OKC defense. If he can do that, if he can be as efficient as he was against the Knicks, then OKC will have huge difficulties in this series. If not, then it's going to be, less of a problem. Because again, what we saw against the Knicks is a genius level point guard that was basically dissecting everything that the Knicks were throwing at him, forcing Tibbs to basically play Mitchell Robinson a ton of minutes because the defense without him was just atrocious.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, I think I'm very curious to see because like you look at who they just played, and I do think that one there's just not a team like OKC across the NBA. Yeah. And they're incredibly challenging. They took a guy like Anthony Edwards, and who's outrageously confident. Outrageously confident in his abilities and what he's able to do on the basketball court. And by the end, he was just kind of like broken, and like to the point where he's like, you know what, like I'm gonna work harder than anybody this offseason because I'm not ready for this. Is essentially what he said after he played the Thunder. And I think Edwards is a better player than Haliburton. They're very different players.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't like necessarily compare them 1-to-1, but I do think that the Pacers are going to struggle against the Thunder defense, especially these lineups that include Cason Wallace and Alex Caruso coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have just been an absolute terror to everybody throughout the playoffs. And I just wonder how the Pacers will handle that, along with like an outrageously confident J-Dub and Chet to go along with Shea.
Yeah.
Because if those three play like they have in the last like 6 out of the last 7 games, like I just don't think that the Pacers have a chance against them. Like that.
Well, if they scored 90 per game, the three of them, or 85, yeah, I would be very surprised if OKC Big Three scores from 80 to 90 points per game on average, and they lose the finals. Yes, I will be extremely surprised.
They've been very good.
Yeah,
they've been very, very good. And I would say that the Wolves are just better positioned to defend the Thunder too than the Pacers are, which also just kind of makes this interesting. So I told you this even before we started recording. I'm having trouble like holding back my extreme confidence. I'm having to like tamper it down a little bit because it is it's hard for me to look at this matchup and think anything but the Thunder are going to have a parade here in downtown OKC here in just a few weeks.
I'll try to be the guy who try to tempers with your
help just knock confidence down a little bit, because I just think
think about game 3 and 4 in Minneapolis. That is what I think will happen a lot in this series, because OKC, granted, they don't have Anthony Edwards, which they doubled a lot. They don't have a driver. Well, they kind of do have a driver like Randall in Siakam, but they will put your composure defensively at a huge test. And if they have 6 games in a row where they shoot 45+% from 3, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard not to lose, because this is the NBA. This is the power of the 3-point shot. I think that OKC is the best team in terms of being equipped to withstand that. Again, this team almost lost to the Knicks, if you don't count this that weird game 1, which again, if I was Towns, I would rewatch my pick and roll defense on those 7 possession and just go to my team and say, how much money do you want from me to just forget what I did in game 1? Because this is why we lost.
That is it's also like a reminder of like a haunting alternate timeline where the Thunder lose against Denver, and that the Thunder's game 1 is the reason that they lose the series. That is a haunting game. Is the way that I would say it to Knicks fans, because they had it. They had that.
And OKC, it happened twice for OKC. Twice.
Yeah.
Game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Was it game 3? They lost basically in the same way, or close to the same way.
Yeah.
But there is a difference. There is a huge freaking difference here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's how they responded. It's how Shea led the way in game 6. It's how the entire team just put the clamp on Jokic in game 7 and just demolished them with an amazing performance of their best guys. I mean, I don't want to dog on the Knicks, because it's hard for everyone to play the best basketball this time of the year. But if you are a superstar, you can't have game 6 on the row facing elimination and just be suboptimal. Well, you can, but you can't expect to win if you do like that. And so this is a difference. OKC is a team that bounced back after what could have been like a game deciding moment. I mean, a series deciding moment for them, and they didn't allow that to be. And not even if it happened again in game 3, they didn't allow that to happen. They just basically were better the game after. So it's I said game 6 in which was not a great game for OKC, by the way. It was game 5 and 7. But anyhow, but anyhow, this is the difference, and the thing that is fully clear is that OKC will have by far the best player on the court. Should have by far the best player on the court, and they can have, if one of the two guys has an amazing series like they did in against Minnesota, they can have 1 and 2. This is why I think we should be optimistic, and this is why the overall opinion on the series will be, hey, it's OKC the favorite by a substantial margin. Now, basketball, it's played, so it's a sport. You have to play to win for real. But again, I think that we should concentrate on those 2 games in Minneapolis, which again, OKC split the difference. So it's not that they lost 2 games in a row with the other team shooting like crazy, but that is what I need to see, and I think that they will play a little bit different than what we saw, because it's a different kind of team. And I'm sure that Dagnall has some wrinkle to throw at the Pacers that we didn't see as of yet in these playoffs.
Yeah, I wonder about like the Thomas Bryant, Tony Bradley minutes that they've been throwing out there. And it's like, I feel like the Thunder could demolish those minutes by just throwing Kenrich out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can you really defend pick and roll against Shea Gilgeous-Alexander with Thomas Bryant and whatever. Like it's a
if you
no.
spread the court, you put that dude on an island, and he's just going to get cooked.
Yeah.
In those minutes. And same for Dub. Like Dub should be able to cook in the same way.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like the Kenrich minutes, he hasn't played a ton, obviously, in this playoffs. But you look at like lineup, like 2-man lineup data, and like he's in all of like the top like 7 2-man lineups. He's a plus on cleaning the glass. He's a plus 23.3 for the Thunder in his minutes, which is, it's still very few minutes, but you just wonder about using him as a small ball center against these lineups where like they throw this traditional big out there, because that's been part of Indy's depth throughout the playoffs. Is that they have been using these. Honestly, these are like third or fourth bigs on most teams.
Yeah.
Like neither one of these guys is. I mean, it's. I mean, I know Thomas Bryant played really well yesterday. Don't want to take anything away from him.
Yeah, he played super duper well.
Yeah. But I just wonder if it's like, hey, if you play either one of those guys, like we're gonna punish you.
Yeah.
And I know that like total minutes, I don't think that either one of those guys has played a ton in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, like even looking at it now, like Thomas Bryant's played 135 minutes. Tony Bradley's played 54 minutes. So it's not like anything crazy. And some of it could be just matchup dependent for the Knicks. But still, I just think like you just kill those minutes. Like if they try it, just because those are guys that I just don't think should be like NBA Finals players. For them, I think the Thunder can punish those minutes for sure.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what kind of defense assignments OKC will decides to use to start off. And then this is the first thing that I want to pick your brain on. And the second one is, will OKC be able to take advantage on the double big man lineup? I mean, the Knicks kind of did, even if Towns was abysmal. So I really wonder if that should be something where OKC says, okay, you want to spread us out? Great. We will allow that to happen. We'll guard probably Turner with Hartenstein away from the ball. We'll put Chet somewhere. I'm not sure where on whom. And then we'll try to bully you. I'm really curious to see if this is something that OKC does and somehow gets the upper hand on that. I'm not sure because, I mean, the single big man lineup, it's what made OKC great against Denver and against Mini. But I wonder, I mean, if they can somehow be so powerful on the rebounds that somehow it makes sense to keep that starting unit and to play that not just as a token, but as something a little bit more consistent throughout the game. Because Hartenstein is against a defense that is so aggressive, like the one that He-Wolves have, and also the one that can pack the paint a lot in against Denver. I mean, the Pacers are not the same kind of defensive level. So I wonder if you can play Hartenstein a little bit in terms of his passing game, and it makes sense to keep him on the court a little bit more because of that. Otherwise, it's probably another series where Hartenstein plays maybe less than 18 minutes. And it's way more Chet, way more Kenrich, as you mentioned, which I think it's a... But I wonder if you think that lineup, the double big man lineup, can work or not.
I will talk about the double big man lineup and defensive matchups right after this quick break. And we're back after that quick break. I want to thank Ring Family Dentistry for sponsoring today's show. Listen, Ring Family Dentistry takes a straightforward, honest approach to dental care. Doctors Phil and Brennan Ring believe in keeping what's healthy, fixing what's not, and only replacing what is truly needed. They're not going to pressure you. There's not going to be any upselling, just clear explanations, thoughtful recommendations, and decisions that are always up to you. It's a very laid-back practice. There's modern tech, high-quality work, and they have same-day crowns, which I think is like the biggest benefit. Like if you've ever had to have a crown or implant or anything like that. Like you have to get these like things that are not permanent put on your teeth. My front teeth are not real, by the way. And so you had to get these like little temporaries on there, and they always just it's a rough look. Let's just be honest. It's a rough look. But they give you same day good looking teeth. So
Wow.
please go check them out today. You can call or schedule an appointment 405-621-1555 or make an appointment online at ringfamilydentistry.com. They're also big Thunder fans. So if you want to go to a dentist that you can talk Thunder with, like this is the place. Okay, so the double big lineup has been such an interesting thing throughout the playoffs because it mostly has not been an effective lineup for them. Like,
Yep.
And when I'm talking about effective, I'm not saying that it's been negative because it hasn't been negative.
No.
I think they're a plus 4.7 was what it was the last time I checked it.
Oh, terrible. 4.7. It's a 52, 53 win projection for
yeah, plus 4.7 is what they are. So like they're not it's not awful, but this is not the Thunder. Like this is the Thunder have shown that their fastball and the thing that works the most is one big out there.
Yeah.
And they're able to play faster, they play with more rhythm. I do think they'll start that way. I do think they'll start double big. And a tell for me for this series is if it does work from the jump, the Pacers are in huge trouble. Like huge trouble.
Yeah.
Like if the lineup works and they're like a plus 11 or something like that for their net rating, you can just like book your tickets for the parade, because like that was one of the things that was a little surprising. And I was kind of looking at it throughout the series, and Alex actually asked a question about not this, but something adjacent to this on Slam and Jam, where he was asking about like the best 5-man unit in the playoffs, and it was the Timberwolves starting lineup was.
Yeah.
And they were very effective against the Thunder in those lineups, and they were obviously great against the Lakers and Warriors too. But like that lineup was very, very good, and the Thunder's lineup has not been, has not been that. And so I am curious, because that's where the Knicks found their success, was playing the double big lineup. Some of that was like
air quotes.
I mean, yeah, that's where they at least feel like they found some footing, I guess, is with their double bigs. And mostly it's, hey, Mitchell Robinson is quite good as an interior defender, and it helps Towns to have somebody that will do that for them, which is not the case with the Thunders, any of their one big lineups.
Yeah, and as I just wanted to put that into context. There are 5 teams in the NBA this year with a better rating than 4.7. So it's still a great lineup, just not. It's still a good to great lineup. It's not what OKC was throughout the regular season, which was a plus 12 and change, 12.7. So I think it's a lineup that will give you positive stuff throughout the series. I wonder if this can be a lineup that you play more than your usual 10-12. I lean no today, because I just think that the hit squad with Caruso, Cason Wallace, Dort, Shea, and Shea or Dub, there, these 5 players having 4 on the court and then 1 big man, it's probably going to be so much better. But just because they can swarm and they can just be a terrible nightmare to play against. So yeah, but I wonder if this can be something that it has a little bit more traction against the Pacers compared to what happened against the Nuggets and the Wolves. I think that a lot of that has it's correlate to how Dub, Shea, and Dort are shooting from three. Because if you start off the game and Hartenstein finds Dort, which will be left open, by the way, get ready for that. Get ready for doubling on Shea, tripling on Shea, and having Dort just wide open. If you have that, and you start with Lou Dort scoring like a maniac from three, then that two big man lineup can really work, because you have a center in Hartenstein that you can touch the paint with and just unload passes to Dort and to that. Because get ready, I mean, the Pacers will play zone. The Pacers will load up and Shea a lot, and I mean, if Dort is a 20% Dort, then it's probably not going to be a long time for the two big man lineup. If it's like 40% Dort, then you have a real chance to play a lot and to have those two guys taking a little bit less of bruising because they can share the load.
Yeah. Yeah, you look at like 5-man lineups for the Thunder in the playoffs so far. They've had 118 different 5-man units in the playoffs, which seems like a lot. And then you look at Indy, I think they've had 139 different combinations, which are both like, that's very high. Like both teams. I think the Nuggets have like 66 different starting lineups or different 5-man units.
Yeah.
Both
don't have options
love to just tinker. Like both coaches are just like throwing so many things out there. You know, like the Thunder starting lineup with the double big has played 174 minutes together. No other lineup has played more than 50 minutes together in the playoffs. So like the data behind it is not great. And then you look at Indy, they're pretty similar. Their starting lineup has played 250 minutes together in the playoffs. They're plus 16.4, by the way.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Like, that's quite good. Minnesota, their starting unit was a plus 17.
Yeah.
So similar. And that's like why I say, like, hey, if this Thunder starting unit works against that team, then I like that's the Pacers throw their fastball right out the gate. You know, similar to the Wolves, in that like their best lineup is that lineup. You know, like consistent. They have other lineups that obviously have better numbers than that, but like their numbers are so wild when you look at like the variance in lineups. Like their second most played lineup is Nembhard, Miles Turner, Halliburton, Toppin, and Aaron Nesmith, and that's a minus 19 in 51 minutes for Indy. And for the Thunder, you know, you look at like their worst lineup that's played the most minutes is 24 total minutes for this lineup. It's Shea, Caruso, Hartenstein, Dort, and J-Dub, and it's a minus 18 in 8 games.
Which is weird. But anyhow.
It is weird, but you just wonder about like having and this is why maybe like the starting lineup has struggled a little bit. It's just like there's spots where like the spacing is not ideal, and then there's spots to hide guys. You know, there's spots on on the defensive end to hide a guy like Mike Conley. You know, and so I just wonder about that. But I do think like the starts for OKC will be telling for where this series is going, you know, as far as like, is this going to be a quick series or could this be a real battle? And if the Pacers continue to play like they have, their starting lineup continues to play like it has, and the Thunder's starting lineup continues to play like they have, like we could have a pretty good battle here. And that it's not the most telling thing because of the way that the Minnesota series went. You know, the beat them in 5, and you know the lineups went the way they did, with the Wolves literally having the best starting lineup in the playoffs and the Thunder having a pretty mediocre one, and still the Thunder were able to adjust quickly on the fly and make it work. And I like anybody that's watched basketball, NBA basketball for a long time, has like a reverence for Rick Carlisle, and who he is as a coach, but I think that Mark has improved so much as a coach throughout these playoffs with his adjustments that I mean, I've never felt this way about a Thunder coach. Like Billy made some good adjustments, but whenever everything got really tight and tense, you just didn't really trust that the right adjustments were going to be made. So Scott Brooks, when things got tight, Brooks would kind of lean back into
what he know he could trust.
Yeah, and it didn't always work. But Mark he's willing to try stuff. He's very adaptable. He has grown in so many ways, as have many players on the team. But it's just cool to see in real time him make adjustments that he wasn't making last year. He wasn't making against the Mavericks.
Yeah.
I think that was part of the problem with that series was I just don't think Mark was making quick enough adjustments. And part of it too is that he just frankly has a better team to work with this year. There are things that he could go to that he had no option to the year prior. There were things like, hey, how about just Kenrich instead of Gordon Hayward?
Yeah. That is I really wonder if Kenrich was healthy enough in the postseason.
If that is the answer, that's great. That's actually great news because that was worrisome.
I was
like
that.
There was no. We also don't have a Gordon Hayward on this roster this year, too.
But I do think that I think that we discussed this at the beginning of the season, and we talked about the tinkering and playing lineups that had zero chances to be used in the postseason, and I think that what you said right there, and we were kind of not in complete agreement, but we were basically looking at two sides of the coin. It's, hey, Dagnall will keep trying experimenting. He said, come on, it's a season where you really need to build trust on the few things that you can get to, and Dagnall did experimenting quite a lot.
Yeah,
build trust on many players, not using too many Usman Jang, too many Dylan Jones, too many stuff that he knew that he could not get to in the postseason. So he has such a long list of things that he can trust right now that, he has trust in Isaiah Joe. He knows that he can put him on the court and see what happens. He's not necessarily going to be an X factor. He's playing poorly in these playoffs, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Hartenstein is not playing the best basketball of his career in these playoffs, but he knows that he can put him on the court and expect him to be proficient enough where he can trust what he sees. So I really think that this is the big difference in past coaches for the Thunder compared to Dagnall. They build a lot of things that could work, but not many things, just a few things that they decided to roll over for the entire season without really trying too much in expanding the things that they could get to in the postseason. Then I think that is a little bit unfair to Billy because he did experiment a lot. He won the San Antonio series, which was clearly an underdog, where he was clearly an underdog by playing double big man lineup, which everybody in the planet Earth would suggest him, what the hell are you doing? Kenner and Adams, really? We have spacing issue, man. Just play shooters. And instead, he decided to play bully ball against the Spurs and won one of the best series, I think, that OKC won in his entire history belongs to Billy.
Totally.
But then if you just fast forward to just 5 games later, then you have this the thing that we know happened, and is it fair to say that Billy lost that series? Sure. It's also an astronomical game that probably never happens again in the NBA history. So Billy was clearly a coach that was inclined to experiment. I think that he was guilty too of not having experimented enough during the regular season to get guys like I don't know, Cameron Payne or Ferguson or other guys more ready to play in crucial moments of the postseason. I think that is something that Dagnall is. It's equaling his, or even he's even better than the previous coaches in terms of X and O's, in terms of trust from his teammates, and also he has this long list of things that he can get to in the postseason, which is something that again we are seeing now in full mode, full course.
I am just outrageously excited. I am so excited to have the NBA Finals here. I was driving down the road the other day, and like we're not even like in the city. We're like in the suburbs of OKC, and I'm with my three boys, and my oldest son was like, I can't remember if it was Luke or Taylor, but he was like, Luke, they were right. They were right. And he's pointing to this like pop-up stand of like guys selling t-shirts, like finals t-shirts, like on the side of the road. And we're like 25 miles away from the arena, like just like in the middle of nowhere almost. And like there's like these pop-up like NBA Finals t-shirt shops. Like it's just absolutely crazy to think about. Like what is happening here in this city. And yeah, man, I'm fascinated. So let's talk like defensive matchups. Like how do we think the Thunder will match up, from the jump? They've been starting Halliburton, Nembhard, Nesmith, Siakam, and Turner is like the starting lineup, which is like that's like a fun starting lineup. You got these two guards that can like both are really good point guards, honestly. Nembhard could be a guy that gets overpaid by somebody and brought in to be the point guard for some team. At some point. So I mean, I think that Dort probably starts on Halliburton. Don't you think?
Yeah, sure.
I think that's where you begin this, and I think that
he will get first dibs at that for sure.
He'll get first dibs. J-Dub is obvious Siakam matchup.
Obvious?
I mean,
not sure if that is.
Would you put Chet on him?
That's a possibility. Yes, sorry. That was a very loud P that I just throw out.
I just wonder if they do similar, go basically similar to what they did with the Wolves, and that they have Chet on Nesmith.
I would just shy away from that. I would prefer to have Chet on Nembhard.
You would prefer to have Chet on Nembhard?
Yeah, I don't. The thing that I don't want to have in a series is Nesmith going ballistic because Chet will roam free. No, I much rather prefer having Nembhard having to play pick and roll to get free from Chet and just switch that.
Huh. But don't you think that's? I mean, if we're looking at the past series, like Jaden McDaniels was guarded by Chet.
Yeah, but Jaden is not Nesmith. Jaden will not hoist 15 threes. Jaden is more like it's. I'm not willing to. It's not that putting Shea on Nesmith gives me high hopes on him just shielding every kind of three, but I'm a little bit more confident that he can do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would not put Chet on a very, very prolific 2-point shooter.
Yeah. It's wild to think about him as a prolific 3-point shooter, by the way.
He was in college. We were just not very. I was not really trusting his ability to be a movement shooter because I mean, if you remember, Nesmith was like a 50% shooter from three. 50.
I know.
50, was he a Vanderbilt product?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember.
It was rumored to be the Thunder selection. Remember that?
Yeah. Which, by the way, would not be a terrible selection.
It took him a while to become that, though. He had a season in Boston where he shot 27% from three.
Yeah, I remember.
His first season in Indy, he was 36% from three.
Yeah, which is still good.
I mean, it's definitely good, but like he was 43% from three in the regular season.
Yeah.
And he's 50% in the playoffs, which he's a career, even with the 50%, he is a career 36%.
Yeah, I know.
Last year he was 27%.
Not messing with that.
In more games, he shot 27% from three. It's just wild. Like the variance there for him is just wild.
Yeah, I'm not super inclined to mess with the chances. Again, I'm not sure if Chet on Lampard is a good thing. Maybe you just put Chet on Turner and just say, okay, let's just play. I know that they will not do it.
Taking 5 a game. He's
Neesmith?
Yeah, in the playoffs.
Except for the games where he doesn't.
Except for the games where he takes 6 in 35 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be kind of against that. I would much rather.
You just don't want to get him going.
Especially early. I mean, you don't want a shooter to get in early. Just play him straight with Shea and you can have Dub on. It complicates a few things. You can have Shea on Nemhard if you want. But again, I would not. Well, you can play Chet on Neesmith. Just you need Chet to be very attentive to the fact that he cannot leave that open like he did with DiVincenzo. Or the truth is, I mean, they allowed Nickeil Alexander-Walker to take a lot of threes, and it almost came down to beat them. To bite them. So maybe they will do the same thing. I just hope they don't start off that way because it's tricky. I mean, Jaden McDaniels is not Neesmith in terms of shooting. So
he's not. He does. I think he's taken like a little over 3.
Yeah.
In the playoffs per game, which is one. Like if I was in Jaden McDaniels' ear, I'd be like, dude, you got to take like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
A game. Like you just got to fire those away. I think that they'll start with Dort on Halliburton, Shea on Nemhard.
Don't like it. No, I don't want Shea to get in foul trouble. I would much rather prefer Shea to be on Neesmith.
You could put Shea on Neesmith. But
come on, let Pascal take like 10 threes if he wants. Just roam a little bit more.
He's one that probably won't take 10 threes, right?
He's not like a guy who I think wants to take 10 threes per game.
No.
He may do it. He may be like prolific at that. I don't know. Let me look at the game log for Pascal and see.
Exactly. We're cut from the same cloth because that's exactly where I went.
We took 11 once in a loss.
Not in this playoffs though.
No playoffs. No, I'm scrolling through the regular season.
The most he's taken in the playoffs is 5.
Yeah,
he's had a game where he in a game they won against Cleveland, he took 0.
Yeah.
So I mean, perhaps I don't know. The starting lineups are pretty complicated. I think that once you go one big, like it becomes a little bit easier to talk about the defensive matchups. Certainly,
I would put Caruso on Turner as soon as we go small.
Oh,
immediately, or Dub.
Yeah, because you can't put the ball on the floor.
Yeah,
and so like you just take him out of the game essentially.
Yeah. But you need to start like with a big man on him, and it's probably going to be Hartenstein.
It'll be Hartenstein.
Or you just trust Hartenstein rim defense because that thing is not bad. It's not. Chet is better for sure, but it's not that bad. I mean, you can also start Chet on Turner and having Hartenstein on Pascal Siakam. I don't know. It's very interesting. I really think that. OKC will probably cheat. I would probably put Chet on McConnell as soon as he starts. Yeah, immediately. Just say, okay, do whatever you want. Just take. have you seen how TJ is? I'm sure we've seen how he loads these 3-pointers.
I've seen, and he is definitely not one that's going to take a lot.
No,
Yeah.
no, I would really put that. Just do whatever. Just I would zone out when McConnell is in the court and just have like this box defense with Chet staying just below
That
the
was
rim.
one thing that the Knicks were doing early on in the series is that they were like selling out for these TJ McConnell threes and like fighting over screens for him. It's like, what are you doing? What is what are we doing with the effort here? Go under every time.
Yeah, and Reggie, I was listening to the telecast. Said, how many times will they challenge McConnell? Said, every time. They should do it every single time. What are we talking about? This is the best way to defend TJ. Everybody knows that.
Yes. Yeah, I still think it'll be Dort on Halliburton, Shea on Nembhard, Miles Turner will be guarded by Hartenstein, Chet on Neesmith, and then J-Dub on Siakam. That's how I think they'll start. That's how I think that they'll start. I think
I like the dub on Pascal thing. That thing I like, but I don't.
Dub has done well against guys like that.
Yeah,
he's done very well.
We're basically saying that they will just put Caruso in after 3.5 minutes.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably going for Chet to start. And then Chet will come out and just destroy the world at some point. Yeah, I mean, Nembhard doesn't take that many free throws.
No.
Like Mathurin takes more. Wait, hold on. Yeah, per 36 minutes in the playoffs, he's not that high up on this list. He's actually wait a minute. Per 36 minutes, he's 1.6 free throws a game.
Yeah, he's a pull-up guy.
So, like, why wouldn't you want Shea on him? Like, Shea's not good. He knows his game well. Like, he played with him all summer,
Yeah. It's just screen navigation, stuff like that. But,
Yeah. But if you've shut Halliburton down in that starting lineup to the point where it's like, we got to go Neesmith running all these possessions, you kind of won.
Sure. I don't want Shea to be on a primary pick and roll ball handler guy. And 30% of the times, Nembhard is playing pick and roll.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't really like that. But I mean, I'm sure that Shea is up for the challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that he draws so many fouls. It's just having Shea a little bit more involved. And again, you can just play with Shea there and knowing that if you play with Dub, that is another thing that I wonder. Imagine if you're Carolina and you see Shea on Nembhard and you have Dub on Pascal Siakam. I would play that pick and roll a gazillion times and trying to switch to have Shea switch on Pascal. And that is trouble. If you do that with Chet, then it's way more interesting to say, oh, I'm guarded by Chet now if I'm Nembhard, so I cannot drive it to the rim, and I will shoot over him, which is something that I think OKC can live with. Or you can switch and you have J-Dub on Nembhard and then Chet on Pascal Siakam, which is still a good matchup for you. That's why I don't want Shea to be picked as a guy that you basically play to get a screen on. Neesmith is not really a guy that will do a lot of screen roll. He can do that, but then you can not switch that. You can decide to try to force that screen because Neesmith is not the greatest dribble driver, or you can just try to force the screen and don't allow the pull up J. So I think it's a little bit easier to start off that way. But again, I have no idea. And maybe again they will decide to put not not too much stock into the double big man lineup. So we'll just have this 6, 7, 8 minutes where it is what it is.
Yeah, that's why it just screams like, hey, the Thunder's fastball is better than the Pacers' fastball. You know, like Chet at the 5 is just going to be a better than anything they can throw out there, just because Chet can't put it on the floor some. Not that you want him doing it a ton, because there are definitely moments where Chet is bringing the ball up the court, especially against that Minnesota defense, and you were just like, no, please pick up the ball. Something that he like, I think Chet's going to work on a ton this offseason. His ball handling, because there's just been a lot of times where he just got himself in trouble, trying to bring the ball up the court, because he could comfortably do that at Gonzaga. He could comfortably do that in high school, and in the NBA, it's a different story.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that he'll get better at. Something that KD had to get better at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times KD was like that early on in his career, where like guys could just get him in trouble pretty quick with his handle. And I think Chet's got a lot of Durant in his game. He's basically like the center version of Durant in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I really hope that he turns into he not turns into Durant in Game 6 of the playoffs, because that is not always a great thing. But I wonder if he can
do that.
He can get into a little bit more of his shooting self, like, because in this series you really want that to happen.
Yeah,
you really want to have him guarded as a potential threat, not because you want him to take 10 threes, not because of that, but because if you do that, then he opens the drive for him. If you play pick and pop and you play pick and roll, then the pick and roll with Chet in this particular series, I think it's a weapon. But you need to lure out Turner, because you can rest assured Turner will be on Chet.
Yeah,
he will just cheat on Chet Holmgren, will decide to just having him shooting threes and see what happens. And you probably have Siakam on Hartenstein, because everybody knows that Hart is more of a face-up, not a post-up guy. So I think that Hartenstein can be guarded by Siakam pretty effectively. It's really interesting what kind of pick and roll strategy OKC will use. I think that Haliburton will likely start on Dort and cheat the hell out of him, and Nembhard will start probably on Dub. With on Shea with Neesmith on the other guy. So I really wonder how much of a Dort screen and roll with Shea we'll see, or double screening action, just to put Haliburton on Shea and trying to lure out even Turner. Because if I'm Shea, then I'll really force Turner not to stay home on my pick and rolls. Just having a little bit high up so that I can either cheat with take a mid range when he's in no man's land, or just beat him to the spot and get to the hoop. And for that, the screening game with Chet Holmgren will be very, very important.
Totally agree. You want to give a pick before we go, Michele?
No, I don't want to do that, but I think that you will force me to do so. I always picked the wrong result.
What did you have? What did you have in the conference finals for the Thunder?
6.
Okay.
Also against Denver. So this time the game 6 will be on a night where I will probably not be able to watch the game, most likely, because I have an event for work. So it's going to be very shaky, and I will pick Thunder in 6. Because on that night, everybody will celebrate, and I will be so miffed and peeved that I could not watch Game 6. So I'll just stick with 6 and hope that their time is a charm and works.
Wow. I am picking Thunder in 5. I think they're going to close it out here in OKC on June 16th, which is Alex Spears' birthday.
That would be a nice birthday present.
I think he'll be here, actually. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have the craziest working schedule for the next 4 weeks. So I thought.
That's just not cool.
really thought of doing something really, really crazy, but then that thought remained a thought and not an action.
Yeah. My wife Amy is having surgery this week, so obviously not ideal as far as like timing wise with the finals and everything. So I will most likely be watching game 1 here with her, and then likely be at game 2. So if you would just pray for her this week. She's having part of her thyroid removed, if not the whole thing. They'll have to get in there and see what's going on. And so would really appreciate prayers for her this week, just for nerves and for the physicians and everything. And so it's a very emotional time here at the Schlecht house. There's just a lot of obviously like nervousness with that, but also like so much excitement with the Thunder stuff going on, where it's just like we are feeling the gamut of emotions here at the Schlecht house this week. So I've been very grateful for the support from all the Dunkers and people. I'll run into people that I've never met before that'll say that they've been thinking about her, praying for her at the arena and stuff like that. So that means a lot for sure. So I will likely get another pod out to you guys tomorrow. I'm hoping to get a Pacers guest on to talk about this series, and then the rest of the week will probably be without me, I would guess. And so we'll have to just see how everything goes and how she's feeling and everything. But at least for a couple days without me. So you'll have Alex that will help preview this series on Wednesday as well, which will be great. Obviously, you're in good hands for the pod. So, but yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know. And I know a lot of people have been asking, messaging me, and everybody's been so kind. And I'm very appreciative of that. Just kind of let you guys know what's going on there. So, okay. NBA Finals this week, Michele, and the Thunder are in the NBA Finals for the first time since 2012. And and I know it's like, hey, it felt like this way in 2012, but like this really, it just feels like the start of something really, really beautiful in Oklahoma City with this team. Like it's just something that's the beginning of something great. So looking forward to watching it and to seeing how this team responds and how they react to their first finals berth as a squad. And they seem very driven. And so I'm very excited to see what that looks like. So please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts would be so great if you could do that. We've been doing this for a long time. Or we have, listeners that have been with us for a decade plus. If you haven't left us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, that would be very, very awesome if you guys would take the time to do that today. If you're watching on YouTube, we got a ton of people watching on YouTube. Just like the video, leave a comment on the video. We would appreciate that. Hope you guys are doing well, and we will talk to you guys again on Monday.